What's up, everybody? It's Rhett and Justin hanging out on our first episode of Armchair Authentic. I wish you could get a look at this. You got two guys who have known each other for 38 years who practically know how each other think. It's kind of like a David and Jonathan type feel if you've ever read the Bible or ever read the reference to how much they love each other. There's just something unique about this relationship that we cannot put into words. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. So we're doing something we've always dreamed about doing, Justin. Here we are.
You know, the first podcast ever was released about 20 years ago in the whole podcast world. And it's
Sorry, hold on. Justin's laughing at me because we're so new at this podcast thing. We've got a little makeshift thing. He's holding his mic. I've got this little boom stand that keeps falling over on me. So he's laughing out loud because the mic just fell in my lap.
Humble beginnings. And so,
absolutely,
20 years ago, first podcast, and 38 years of knowing each other, we're just now getting in on this thing. I think we were waiting to see, is this thing going to actually make it? Are people going to podcast? And I think we've done a thorough analysis. I think it's here to stay.
I think it's here to stay. I think there's like 8 million plus podcasts. Don't quote me on that. That's just a made up number. That's what great communicators do. They just make up stats on the fly. Kidding. It's a joke. We're being authentic, okay? But when you're referencing, we've done this 30-something years ago, 38 years ago. What are you referencing?
Well, our friendship. You and I, we have been best friends for 38 years. And that's what makes this so special, because a lot of people don't get that long of a friendship like we do. And that's what's hard about this. I think that's why we decided not to do it, because when we look at each other, we're going to break out into so many memories, because anybody can say anything. And our mind is triggered to an exact time that happened when we were 11 or 15.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. So it's like when your parents are at the table saying, "Not another sound." Well, they're just encouraging a whole other sound. And so I think we're going to need a lot of grace to get through with some of these.
Yeah. So if you're joining us for the first time and you found this somehow, some way, you might be wondering, why in the world did we choose the word Armchair Authentic? It's because we were sitting around talking about being authentic with our lives, our stories. I'm 46. Justin, you are, how do I tell?
45.
45. And so there's been a lot of stories, a lot of life, a lot of hurts, a lot of pains, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, one step forward, two steps back. This just journey, pre-Jesus, with Jesus, after, like this whole thing of what God's done in our lives, through our lives, and what we're experiencing now. And so we're just trying to think of a way that we could add value to people with our stories. And in that, we were like, well, authentic, let's be real, let's be honest.
Yep.
Maybe let's talk about some things that maybe are being said, but maybe aren't being said through the lens of, maybe Christianity, God, and our lives.
It's our perspective. You made the example of 8 million podcasts. That's the beauty of identity and authenticity and just the uniqueness that everybody has. You're going to get this special something that you'll get from us you wouldn't get from anybody else. That's a beautiful thing about this. And we're going to get to a lot of good stories over our time together. And that's our hope, is that you just kind of jump in with us. And we hope our life is some kind of a model that you can look at and say, man, that's really relatable. I've never really looked at it through those lenses, because we have an interesting little lens. And it's cool because we're two people getting to, it's like when you hear about the Gospels, you have different vantage points of them.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. We have the same life with two different vantage points, and the listener will realize, my goodness, they are spot on. There's just a little deviation in between. You're going to tell a story, or I'm going to tell a story. And it's funny how many times when we have a normal conversation, we don't remember the story. And I find myself telling Rhett, elaborate on that. Like, what did I do? What did I used to do in that?
Right.
And so it's like, we're 30 years surrendered. We surrendered our life to Christ 30 years ago. And there's a lot of stories that have come with that, because that is our life, and that's the foundation of this podcast. And whether something is said or unsaid, you can know the bed of everything that we're doing. It's all about our foundation, our last 30 years with Jesus.
Yeah, really. So if you're joining us for the first time, you're wondering, hey, do I even want to spend some time with these guys and maybe go on a journey? You're listening to two friends who have obviously done a lot of life together, and our hope is really just to help you the best we can with our story. Maybe you can relate. We were literally sitting in the armchairs in my living room, and we're like, why don't we just call it Armchair Authentic? And one thing Justin and I have done for so many years is I've lived all over the place. Justin has been consistent with living in the Birmingham, Alabama area for so long. But one thing we've always done is we've always had conversations. And in those conversations, it's been like iron sharpening iron.
Yep.
And it's been so good. So I've grown, he's grown. And sometimes people, have wondered, how in the world have you kept your friendship for so long? And I think what we're doing by creating this, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is an opportunity maybe to be a fly on the wall on our conversations. What capital friendship kind of looks like, what it can look like in people's lives.
In order to be, real, I mean, as Rhett started this out, we've been through the ups, we've been through the downs, but we have consistently been there with each other. I have been able to celebrate you and the amazing things that has been your life. I've also been able to get really sorrowful with you with just some of the junk that goes on in life. And I think that we're going to say things. It's not going to be something you haven't heard before. I think that it's going to be relatable, though, because people go through problems and pain, and you go through people.
Yeah.
And that alone makes some worthy conversation. And we just hope that we get to bring you into what our normal conversations look like several times a week for the past 38 years.
And we're really going to try to not be scripted. There are a lot of great, if you're looking for a podcast to be like a point A, point B, point C, give me something in 15 minutes, this is not going to be your podcast.
Yeah.
If this is something you're on a drive, you're working out, and you just kind of want to, listen into just some random conversations, but not just for randomness sake, but for pulling out what God did in and through and is doing in and through every situation of our lives, and what we're recognizing and what we have learned and what we're learning from it. Well, then this might be your podcast, because it might resonate with you. And our hope is to make you, not make you laugh, but to just have a lot of laughter. I shared a scripture this past Sunday. A cheerful heart is good medicine.
Yeah, man.
But a broken spirit, man, here's my version. Here's my paraphrase. Sucks the life out of you. And we don't want to suck the life out of you on this podcast. We want to add joy and laughter, even if it's at our own expense, because we like to laugh a lot. So we're going to have a lot of fun. There's going to be points and times where we are pretty much scripted, because, like Justin and I we talked about, there's going to be times where we bring on guests. And I don't want to name drop any of them right now, but at the end of the day, there are going to be some people that you can relate to, like church planners, leaders, artists.
Whether you know their name or you don't know their name, you can relate to them because either they've taken a step that you just haven't been able to make yourself take, or it might just be a confirmation to something you have done, and you just feel a draw towards them.
What we're really trying to do is help people fulfill their God assignment.
Yep.
Talking to real people, having real conversations. And this is happening from two friends who have learned the art of just being real and authentic, and seeing just the vulnerability. There's just power in it. I'm not going to quote Brene Brown, but that whole idea of vulnerability and how powerful it is, that's something that we have truly experienced.
Yep.
And if anything, maybe you walk away from this one step closer to Jesus, one step more maybe to considering a walk with Jesus, maybe one step trying to find a better friend and making investments into relationships. I don't know. There's going to be so much that we cover. So
yeah, and what's been our life that we've at least been able to be a part of, and it seems to be very meaningful, is, people are born with purpose. And you and I, we happen to see that we as believers, we have this same purpose, which is ultimately to be passionately in love with Jesus and to be the same towards other people, which means there has to be a lot of humility. There has to be a lot of selflessness. And those are so many conversations right there, but we don't think it stops there with that purpose.
Yeah.
We also believe that everybody has been uniquely designed. And so our goal is that you can listen to this, and even in a format like a podcast, that you actually can feel like, man, they really helped develop my uniqueness today, because we ultimately feel that over life, you were called to so many assignments, right?
Yep.
And Our goal is to just help you deliver on those assignments wherever they are in life, whether it's being a parent, whether it's being a friend, maybe the job that you're working, maybe it's that dream that you are pursuing, whatever it is that you feel like I am here to do in this particular season. We just want to be an encouragement to maybe just, I'm not like this mountain man kind of guy who just goes and, I can like get the sun to aim down at the firewood and get it going, right? I have to go buy some of that little red stuff. I get a little bit of peace because I don't want too much to, chemicals to get on the s'mores I might be making with my family. But my boys think I'm such an amazing fire starter because I light that little fire kindling and it will get a fire roaring. And hey, 5 minutes into it, it's real.
Yeah.
So our goal for you is that we can just be a little bit of that red kindling that can get the fire going in your life that is going to be 100% the Lord and 100% you taking those steps in your life.
And we recognize as we share this, we're hoping that, our family and friends who have been along the journey of our lives, maybe from, 38 years ago, from today or yesterday, or maybe we met you at Starbucks hours ago, wherever you are.
Good chance.
Good chance. But wherever you are, our hope is just to invite you on a journey along with us. I think maybe a little bit of backstory. We don't have to go in depth, but, with who I am, who Justin is, and who we're becoming, I think that might help, especially if you're determining on whether or not you want to join us on this journey. But, I'll start and I'll make it as short as I can. And I think there'll be nuggets, from these bullet points that we're going to talk about from my life, from Justin's life as we move into the next episodes. But, born in Alabama, born and raised Birmingham, Alabama. Come on, you got to add the Alabama. I love my parents very much, but, unfortunately grew up in a broken family. My parents got a, separation, divorce around the time that I was, 2.5, 3 years old. And so, lived with my dad, and living with the dad as an only child, as kind of a latchkey kid around 7 years old. My mom died by suicide. And so, trying to live life with a dad and without a mom in the picture and going through all those emotions and everything, I was looking for love in all the wrong places. I met you in that process around, I was 8, you were 7?
Yeah.
Right? And we were living in a little apartment complex that used to be called Twin Gates East Apartments over in the Huffman area of Birmingham.
Yes.
And so we were living there and met this guy. And so anyways, getting into a lot of trouble because none of us were serving Jesus, but we were you grew up in the South, everybody's a Christian, right? And I tell people like this, who doesn't want to be a Christian? Because I didn't want to go to hell, but I had no relationship with Jesus. I was 16. At 16, excuse the Christianese, if you will, but I gave my heart to Jesus. In other words, I surrendered my life. I just went all in a relationship with God because the guy sitting across from me in this chair invited me to go on a beach trip. And, actually, no, let me edit that. You did not invite me to go on a beach trip. We grew up doing that.
I did invite you to a beach trip, but you did not go.
I did not go. Yes.
You went to hang out with your girlfriend.
That is true. He invited me on a beach trip to this youth group, and I said, no, I don't want to do that. So I was hanging out with my girlfriend instead. But he went, not because he wanted to get closer to Jesus. You went because of, if I'm not mistaken, a girl.
That's right.
She invited you. And, and he went and he came back. He went for a girl, but he came back with Jesus, y'all. And so when he came back with Jesus, it was a life change. I loved it. I was like, I got to have what he has. It's just complete change. And I went and checked it out and gave my heart to Jesus, went all in on the relationship with God. I went from like a religion of Christian to like not just needing fire insurance, if you will, but to walking in a vibrant, authentic, real, powerful relationship with Jesus. And then my life was hard. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. A lot of grieving, got married at a young age, went through a divorce, lost about everything, and then ended up remarrying, and God brought restoration to my life, and a beautiful woman I've been married to for 17 years, got a 15-year-old son who is dreaming of being an F1 racer right now, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And served churches all across the country, planted a church most recently in the Boise area, Nampa, Idaho. Come on, Nampa, Idaho, One Life Church, where you at? And currently passed that baton, and now I'm serving a local church in Twin Falls, Idaho, while I live in Birmingham, which is crazy. But it's happening, and we're doing, I'm coaching, I'm consulting, starting a 501c3 right now to see how I can help pastors and church planters specifically across the country to add pastoral care to them. So yeah, so many off conversations, but that's me in a nutshell right now.
For me, picking up where Rhett did, our first meet was me and my brother. We were very into ninja movies in the 80s, and our parents would always give us like throwing stars and all kind of weaponry. I mean, we probably.
And by the way, if you don't know
it.
what a throwing star is, it's not like a literal star from the sky. It's
yes,
it's like a metal thing with like 5 points on it.
Yeah, it's
right?
like a knife. It's a knife you're throwing at somebody that has 5 chances to get you. It's got 5 points on it.
5-point circle, flattened circle. That's what it is.
Picture that. And if you've seen Ninja Turtles, you've seen Ninja Stars.
Let's go.
And so Rhett was riding by on his bike. He saw me and my brother throwing them. It was like this wood encased dumpster at the apartment complex we lived in. And we would just kind of throw the stars and it would stick in the wood. And that was like victory if you did that. And so Rhett rides by and he's curious what we're doing. He asks if he can throw one.
Heck yeah.
And it's been friendship, best friendship ever since that moment. We literally have been together since that moment. And whether it's been, as Rhett said, the adventures that have taken him out of Birmingham, and it happens through phone calls and technology advances and you get Zoom and FaceTime. Yep. But we have been in each other's life. And so from that moment, my story is very similar. I think that's what made me and Rhett connect so much, is my parents went through a divorce when I was around 5 years old. And in the same way, my dad got custody, which was such a rarity in those days. And my dad got custody. And my mom, she has since passed, and I'm so thankful to be able to say that she's with Jesus. But my dad got custody. She was, into some strongholds with just alcoholism and pills, just a lot of stuff to really try to cover a lot of the grief that she was facing. I didn't know how to label it that then, but those will be some great topics as we have this podcast and the different themes of episodes, because growing up, I've definitely been able to look at her and realize, my goodness, there were some missing things that could have really helped her. But I grew up in that environment, not really being with my mom as much, but me and Rhett connected. And so in the same way, but at 15, I went on a trip to Panama City Beach. A girl who had invited me to go with our youth group, I absolutely said yes. And I had just this amazing awakening to Jesus.
Yeah.
And I just know that what I was seeing other people my age doing at the age of 15, the way that they were seeking after Jesus, it's something I had never seen. And I knew that I wanted it. And I didn't know what to do. I just sat on the ground and began weeping. And in that moment, I surrendered my life to Christ. And I told the Lord, from this day forward, I'm living for you. There wasn't the altar call, nothing like that for either of us. We just had that moment, and it was, life had never been the same. I mean, that's when that sense of purpose we talked about, it existed now. I knew why I was here. Yeah. It was all about Jesus. It was all about helping people have encounters with Jesus. That's it. And then what's cool is over the next month, and it doesn't happen this soon to everybody, but over the next month, really these assignments already started primarily in the form of, church, and what we would call ministry began to happen. I had just started playing guitar. My cousin, shout out to my cousin Matthew, who is in New York City. He did a lot of, Broadway musicals, very, very talented guy. He came home one summer playing acoustic guitar. Yeah. And he could really play. And I had a guitar under my bed that I would pull out and just kind of pluck. So anyway, Matt knows how to play. And I'm like, will you please show me?
His name's Matt Kaplan, by the way.
Yeah, Matt Kaplan.
And he's, we said we would name drop, but he would be one of the guys that we would want to get on the podcast in the future. He'd
be a great guy to interview with what he's done. Yeah. Just for you guys, and artistic, you're into the theater, you're into things like that. I mean, what a cool story. Yeah. And there's fun stories later I'll share about him. But he taught me 4 chords, and we began writing a song. And from that point, I was hooked. But that happened a month before I surrendered my life to Christ. So here I am. 15, I start playing guitar. I'm writing songs that are just in my heart. And immediately you and I, we get plugged into our local church at that time.
Yep.
I'll leave out some details there, but fast forward, I get married 7 years later. I get married in April of 2000 to my wife, Summer. And we then we're the poster children for our church. And then from that point, just as new steps happened, we stepped out, not really knowing where we're going, but we knew we were supposed to do something.
Yeah.
And we would meet a guy named Chris Hodges who moved to Birmingham, Alabama, and he was going to be planning a church.
Yeah.
And we were all in. We met him, loved him, and it's a place called Church of the Highlands, and it launched in 2001. And me and my wife were there since the beginning. Talk about an assignment.
Yeah.
A whole different trajectory for our life. I would have always thought that I'm heading on out once I finish college or whatever. Like I'm gone.
Yeah.
And probably we always thought it'd be us on the road touring somewhere, Rhett and I, and one of our other great friends. And in this case, it's like I got that bug. I was like, oh my goodness, this place is awesome.
Yep.
So I graduate college. I'm not going anywhere, no church, no anything, with a music performance degree, and I get a job at an insurance company because I want to stay and serve my local church. And so, fast forward that until now, probably 7 years into the church, I ended up coming on full time and worked heavily with the worship department. And most recently, I put a lot of focus in what I was doing with the worship team, now just as a holistic, the entire congregation, if you will, with our staff, is pastoral care.
Yeah.
We have 4 boys at this time of recording, 14, 12.
You better get them right. You better get them right.
9, but our 6-year-old, he'll probably be 7 by the time this airs.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, so that's
so cool.
It really is. So far it's been a journey of a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Some amazing stories that have come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like you look back on things and you would not go through the hell you go through when you're in it. But once you get through it and you look back what you've learned, I would not trade any experience because it's giving an opportunity to share the things that we're going to be sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautifully said. So where do we go from here? At the end of the day, we're really excited. Again, format, we will probably be a podcast around about 45 minutes to an hour.
Sure.
That's kind of what we're thinking right now. I don't know if you've got a friend that you can call and you're like, hey, you got 5 minutes. Next thing you know, you look at your time on your phone. You're like, what are we, an hour 45 in? This is nuts. And that's our friendship. And that's where we can go with this podcast. But at the end of the day, what we're really trying to accomplish is just relaxing, relatable, a lot of fun atmosphere of just some real authenticity of honestly walking with God for 38 years, what life was like before and with, and kind of the adventure of where we're headed. But this isn't, make no mistake, it isn't just about Rhett and Justin. This is about what we've learned, what we're learning, and how it can apply to your life with where you are today and, with what God has in store for you in the future. And there's going to be leadership principles. There's going to be stuff of, oh my God, don't do this. Whatever you do, don't. But there's going to be moments like, whatever you do, you want to do this. Because we've, again, 46 years, I still feel like I'm 16 when I look in the mirror, I'm like, nope. Nope. But, we're just taking a next step, trying to be faithful and steward our story in a way that serves you, that serves the body of Christ. And we want to be real, authentic.
You're really getting to listen in on what we talk about. And I think for years, we would always joke that the outcome of our conversation, my goodness, if someone could have just been a part of that.
Yeah.
When you're not trying to make up something that sounds really smart, you just do something naturally and you look back and you kind of amen yourself. For those who are listening and us, for those who haven't really got to know us yet, we are very much and always have been. We love entertaining.
Yeah.
We love being the center of attention.
That's authentic.
That was us.
That's it.
As kids. And I think that over years, you look into certain rooms and say, I need to repress this a bit. But I also think that as you get older, you realize sometimes your repressing isn't like a God thing. Mm-hmm. Your repressing is a you thing. Through conversation, maybe you realize, man, that's something that, I didn't realize that I did. Since we were kids, I always joke around and say we were in paper bands. because I would draw it up on paper all the time. I mean, long before we played or ever played in bands, we've played in many. I know for me, it would be like Justin Bradshaw, vocals and acoustic guitar. I didn't know anything about acoustic. I'd give like Rhett Barton. I think I gave him harmonica and singer.
One. No offense to all the harmonica players that are absolutely amazing.
Yeah. If you knew Rhett,
at that point, it was like,
we would go, we used to go, we had in our apartment complex, there were 3 pools, 3 laundromats.
And that sounds luxurious, by the way, when you say that. I just want you to know that sounded luxurious, but it was like fading fast, and it was like 30 something years old by the time we moved into it. So it wasn't like it was.
No.
This was not.
No,
we lived in some resort, 3 pools, 3 in the heart of Huffman, Alabama. Let's go.
If you could only see.
Just so you know, those pools are full of dirt now.
they filled them,
covered, and
they don't want the liability of having a swimming pool. They can't afford the insurance. But we would go to the laundromats because we realized, my goodness, they have amazing acoustics.
Yeah,
and we would write our first songs in those laundromats, love songs, and
to the girls that we dreamed of dating at the point, or imaginary girlfriends.
Yes, they would. Yes. Yeah, the ones who would have, that you'd have on your wall until your brother comes through and marks them all up and makes fun of you, which you didn't have to worry about that.
No, I did not.
But yeah, so it's fun, just when I think back to the laundromats, the theme parks we've created in our head.
There's one thing that you're going to realize about us is that we're really imaginative. Like, our minds have the ability to create dream works in our head. And so we had 2 imaginative, very dreamy kids that were dreaming of, looking back, I'm sure with the trauma that we were going through that we didn't even know that we were dealing with our families. We were trying to create this escapism in our minds and emotions. I look back with the psychology now and seeing what was happening, but also because God gave us a gift to dream.
Yep.
And we had the ability to sit there and think of all this crazy stuff in our head, like theme parks in our backyard and, and bands and concerts and all kind of stuff. So, which makes for a crazy, crazy conversation if you're sitting there listening, like, what in the world? Maybe you had a friend like that. We have not stopped doing those things. They look different now. For Thankfully. Sure. And there are a lot more, I hope with maturity that goes toward tying into our purpose now in life, and we're using it and we're crafting it and we're getting better. But that was our childhood. We had there's going to be a lot of laughter in regards to those things.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to see where the conversations take us. I'm excited to hang out with some of the people that we will also interview at different points in times throughout the podcast. Ultimately, I think that you and I, Rhett, for what we've been through, as I said, we were very much the entertainers, as kids, and still we have that. Yeah. We have that heart. We love it. But through, the mindset of our purpose, right, of walking with Jesus and putting others before you, that's really hard for me, first of all. You're getting the very surface of that. That's a hard thing for me to say because I'm naturally selfish. But I will say the walk that we have had the past 30 years, I've been able to get a little less selfish and chip away at that. And I would say one thing that you and I are unified on, which is fun to do this together, is we honestly will tell you we want to see the people that we come in contact with accomplish the assignments that are on their life. Yeah. We want to see them accomplish greater things than we could imagine, even though we got some things we're imagining too. So you're going to have to step up, but we want to see you accomplish greater things than you could ever imagine. And we find it such an honor in the life that we get to be in through the local church and through relationships and just through the different areas that we end up having through coaching or mentoring, whatever it might be. I love getting to see people have that light come on. Yeah. Where they realize, I actually believe in myself a little bit more just because of spending time with you. And what I've found is that's not like we have to come up with something so profound to say. Yeah. It's just being available. Yeah. It's just taking the time to be able to say something to somebody that you think is just everyday words. And I think back to you, Rhett. I can remember back even in youth group, you had a way that you could be walking out of a room and you have maybe 2 or 3 of these guys who you could tell they probably weren't fitting in, but they were there. Their parents made them. I can remember so many times you kind of walking out. We had just walked off stage from leading the music. You're coming down and you would go and just say something to them. And just with your personality, very boisterous, very, man, what's going on? How you doing? And within 5 to 10 minutes, they are opening up and having a blast with you. And you would just really take them under your wing. And we'd go to Taco Bell down the street, or we'd go somewhere. I had that last night, by the way.
Taco Bell.
I did. Yeah, it was all so good. Still one of my favorites. Sorry, Summer rebukes Taco Bell. She says no. But she did have
that was back in the day when you could eat Taco Bell for like less than $5.
$2.98.
I mean, like, literally, that was like 2 tacos. Hey, this was 2 tacos for me, meat and cheese only, nothing else on it, and 2 Mexi Melts, no pico, and that was it, with a side of cinnamon twist and a Sprite, because that's the way I rolled. Now I don't eat that like that anymore. I'm like, give me everything that's on it. But
well, then I would get always my go-to order there. 3 soft tacos, however they made it. Lettuce was fine. A bean burrito, nachos with cheese, and a Pepsi Freeze.
Yeah, nacho cheese with a Pepsi Freeze. They don't make those anymore, do they?
I don't know.
Is a Pepsi Freeze like the freeze, like smoothie type thing?
It's like an icy.
Oh, okay.
It was wonderful.
Okay, I guess
that's another thing. I haven't had that in a long time. I haven't had carbonation. I'm on a streak.
You're on a streak of carbon. Yeah, that's for sure. I drink carbonation every day, at least one. And Justin hadn't had carbonation in how many years?
Since June of 2001.
Yeah, so we're praying for him on that. So we're going to create a bandwagon of get Justin back on some carbonation. Sorry, Summer.
She'd be fine with it. I mean,
but your downfall would be chocolate. You do love chocolate. You'll eat chocolate any day of the week. You show up with chocolate, you're Justin's best friend.
I'll eat sweets. I've got the biggest sweet tooth. Coffee and sweets.
Yeah.
Those are my downfalls. And
good downfalls. Good. I mean, it's not like it's bad.
Good downfalls. I love it.
In moderation.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, carbonation, there was really no point to it. Matter of fact, it was the first small group semester we ever had. We had like 11 groups. Yeah. For you who don't know, small groups it's what it's called. It's if you have a Sunday, if you have a Sunday, it's like Sunday school classes, if you will, but you break them out during the week. And as it doesn't have to be just like going through the Bible. It could be basketball. Well, one of the first groups that I helped with was a hockey small group, because me and Rhett have a background in hockey.
Because, hockey is so popular in Birmingham, Alabama.
It's just
like, every kid is growing up dreaming to be a hockey player in the South.
It's odd how me and Rhett fell in love with that sport, but we did.
By the way, that is... I don't know if you can tell that's dry humor. I'm being very facetious on that. Like,
yeah, it's the South.
No,
guys. We don't know what ice is. There is no such thing as hockey unless it's professional level who can afford to put it in an arena. Yeah. We don't play outside, but Rhett and I did get into hockey as in happenstance when we got rollerblades and turned out playing.
That'd date you right there. Rollerblades.
I know, but we would play with some of these. We found ourselves in the tennis courts in the backyard of, once again, don't think luxury tennis courts.
This is tennis courts that might as well have been a prison court, because
it really was. It was.
No offense to my brothers and sisters who are in prison, but let's be real. When your net is a fence,
yes,
it was. It was. The lines are drawn with chalk.
It was definitely not luxurious. But we found we would go out there because it was just at least smooth enough to rollerblade, and we would come out there with our hockey gear. And one day, we find that there are people out there playing hockey where they've taken the 2 courts, but taken the half side where you don't have a net in the way. They set up goals.
Yep.
And they were playing, and it was hockey.
We were the only 2 on rollerblades as kids, but they were on their feet. They were
on their feet.
Yeah.
And they were semi-pros who used to play for like the local area Birmingham Bulls team.
Yep.
And we got thrown in there playing.
Yeah, we didn't know that at the time until like afterwards. Like, oh yeah, I play for the Birmingham. I was like, what? What? Not the Chicago Bulls, the Birmingham Bulls, and which are still a hockey team today.
Yeah.
Like on my Facebook feed, I'm like, oh look, Birmingham Bulls.
We need to go back.
Need to do it. Yeah. So
They've just changed arenas.
Crazy. So you notice how our conversation can just go from one thing to another. Somebody like, how in the world did you end up on tennis courts?
You just
and
witnessed.
hockey?
You just witnessed an everyday combo, and we got there, Rhett, because the first small group was a hockey small group.
There it is.
All right, we played rollerblade hockey, and one morning on my way to small group, I downed like 2 or 3 Cokes because I used to be very addicted to carbonated, or really Coke or Pepsi, anything like that. And I start playing hockey, and I got that feeling of like, oh, I just want to throw up. It was just that syrupy, And I remember going home, and I told Summer, just like we all can have our words of hyperbole, I'm like, I'm never going to have a Coke again. And she says, oh, yeah, that'll be the day. And just kind of jokingly, I said, okay.
Yeah, and if you know Justin at all,
I'll
you're
never
going to
have
realize
a Coke again.
you just made a personal, like, oh, you don't think I can't do it? I'm going to show you that I can do it.
So
you don't think I can do a podcast? But we're going to do a podcast. And here we are.
Well, and
So
I
fun.
took it the rest of the day, just thinking maybe I can survive the rest of the day. And then the next day, matter of fact, that night, if you want to date the time this happened, it was the night that the Colorado Avalanche
here we go.
won the Stanley Cup by beating the New Jersey Devils in June of 2001. That's how I timestamp it in my head. Whatever date that would have been in June. But that's the day that I gave it up. The next day I went without it. The next day we're, at this time of this recording.
The fact that you remember the games that were on TV and the way that where the sun was setting in the sky and which way the wind was blowing and the T-shirts people, it blows my mind. So there's one thing about Justin is that I can remember a ton of stories, but I have no idea the context of time frame because of the trauma that I went through as a kid, like putting back a ton of grief. And so I'm just in this moment of just not having a clue. So, but the one thing is, he is that detailed friend that if he says it happened at this time and this date and this place, you can just take it to the bank and don't even worry about arguing because I've gone through 30 minutes of conversation and oh, yep, you're right. That's exactly when it happened and where we were and what it was. And so I just trust it now. But that's funny. Anyway, all that
sporting
to say,
events usually help me trigger those roll tide.
So we need to land the plane here. If anybody's still listening, we hope you are. We hope you're enjoying maybe a little bit of laughter, just kind of the idea of where could this thing go? So we are actually recording this, in the end of October, a week into, before all the Halloween festivities and trunk or treats and all that kind of stuff. And we're really just trying to get everything set up today, see if any of this would work. And we just thought, why not go ahead and hit record and throw some stuff out there. As far as when this actually releases, not quite sure.
Making decisions.
We're making decisions. But what we do want you to know is hopefully you can make some comments on whatever, venue we're putting that out there. We'd love to get some feedback. If there's things or topics you want us to talk about, we'd love to hear that and love to line that up because we obviously want to make this interactive with those who are listening and joining us and not just a two-way conversation. But we want you to know we love you and we do pray for you and very thankful for your time to listen today. We're excited about this journey, man. Armchair Authentic, 2 brothers who've been doing life for 38 years. We are not perfect by far. We get to do some pretty cool things right now for Jesus between what Justin does on staff at Highlands and what I get to do right now with there's so many different little ventures that I'm getting to be a part of. And, we love you. Anything you want to say before we close it out, brother?
This has been a great start. And if you're hearing it, it's because we decided to let this one go ahead and hit the airwaves.
Yep, that's it. And we don't necessarily know exactly what we're going to talk about the next time we come along, but we do promise this. You're going to laugh. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll have some leadership principles that we can all grow from as well with it. It's going to be good.
It's going to be great.
All right. God bless you. Thanks for your time. And remember, Armchair Authentic, baby. Let's
you
go.
just made up a slogan.
I
That
know.
is not going to be our slogan. I thought you were about to come up with some great.
I tried.
I thought this was going to be. I was like,
Armchair
man,
and
Rhett's already.
remember.
I was
And
like,
remember.
Rhett's got some exit. Like he's got some statement. This is going to. I'm all ears. Like, what is he about to say? He's. Oh my gosh.
Well,
he
Craig
didn't even
Rochelle
tell me.
has
and then Rhett's like. So just remember, Armchair Authentic, baby.
Armchair Authentic. Well, sometimes inspiration comes when you take a step of faith. You step out the boat and you walk with Jesus, or you step out the boat and you sink. And Thanks for that one.
How about this? How about this? And
here we go.
End here. It's just like,
it's hard to end our conversations.
Thanks for listening to Armchair Authentic with Rhett and Justin. We'll see you next time.
All right. God bless, guys.
Thank you for listening to Armchair Authentic with Rhett and Justin. Hey, we would love to hear from you. Questions, comments, how we can make this a better experience as you take this journey with us. You can reach us on Facebook and Instagram at Armchair Authentic and on X at Armchair Auth Pod. That's Armchair Auth, AUTH Pod. And email us, info@armchairauthentic.com.